Hello, everybody. It's Mr. Caudill. Let's finish what chapter are we in? Chapter 14. Um, I don't even know what to say other than I think this is kind of interesting. And to be honest, there's some. I read this article once about Mendel and how there must have been divine intervention in that abbey where he lived because he was so lucky that he chose characteristics that actually only were governed by two alleles and that there was a dominant situation and so on. So anyway, there's a lot of instances of characteristics that organisms have, including us. Like I said the other day, eye color governed by like 20 different genes that each have an additive effect. There isn't really a dominant and a recessive. So that's kind of more common. And he got lucky and it worked. Good for him. He worked really hard. So inheritance patterns are often more complex than predicted by simple Mendelian genetics. I've written up here, often they're controlled by more than one gene, and there's not a distinct dominant or recessive gene. If you look at this table that exists in your book, this is just to help you get organized. We've only gone through one of these, but there's definitely other ones, and I'm going to touch on a few of them right now. Well, if you think of the term incomplete dominance, that just means that there's a dominant gene. And remember, the dominant gene doesn't like suppress the recessive gene's protein from being made. It just is a more efficient and effective protein. So both, if we're looking at, let's say, a flower color in pea plants, purple and white, you have the enzyme that creates the color, the white pigment, and the one that creates the purple pigment, but it just does it so much better that you don't even see the white. It just dominates it over it. And so in this case, there's incomplete dominance. So what you might guess is going to happen here is that they'll actually mix, and you can kind of get a hint of that from the picture there. Well, in incomplete dominance, the phenotype F1 hybrids is somewhere between the phenotypes of the two parental varieties, in this case, white and red. And the example that's always given in 100-level college biology classes is snapdragon flowers. So what we see here are these two flowers, a white one and a red one. And if it's incomplete dominance, what do you think the F1 hybrid is going to look like as far as flower color? You're right, pink. There it is, incomplete dominance. And so when scientists did this cross, they knew about Mendelian genetics. They were like, wow, this is different and this is weird. And it's kind of cool that they figured it out. On a piece of paper, go ahead and put two pink hybrids together. Do a Punnett square and create sperm and then eggs from these pink hybrid F1 generation flowers, or from a self-pollination of it, and try to put the little C in the R and C and W. You got to get comfortable with working with like not just big B's and little B's and big C's and little C's. On the AP exam, they're going to have these weird kind of characters of letters. So quiet. And you'll see this in the textbook also. Well, let's keep going. Codominance. What do you think that's going to mean? Well, to me, that's going to mean not that they mix, but they actually coexist. And it's also the same as multiple alleles. And the example that's always given is blood grouping in college level biology classes. Here's another thing that people can do as a result of having genes that co-dominate. Can you do that? That's pretty crazy. Well, the four phenotypes of the ABO blood group in humans are determined by three alleles for the enzyme that attaches A or B carbohydrates to red blood cells. So let's stop for a second. So there's four different types of red blood cells that exist in humans, and we each have a type of red blood cell. These are the genes that cause you to get each of these different types. Let me be clear on this. So if you have A type blood, you either have a big A from mom and a big A from dad, or you have a big A from one of your parents, and then what they call I is just a gene. And probably this doesn't code for anything, and I'm about to show you why, because I'll show you right now, because O is I, meaning you got an I from both of your parents. So if you have B type blood, you got a big B from one of your parents, a big B from another, and then you got a big B and then an I, maybe. That's another genotype that someone has. And then for AB blood, you have an A from mom or dad and a B from the other parent. What this looks like is, and I alluded to this in the previous slide, is what's happening here is that if you have A-type blood, you literally have red blood cells, and every one of them in your body has a certain protein on it that we call A. Likewise, if you have B-type blood, this is what it looks like. And what do you think if you have AB-type blood? Well, you're going to have both A's and B's. And then if you have O-type blood, you'll have none of these types of proteins on the surface of your red blood cells. Now, you've probably heard people who get in a car accident and they're unable to speak, and there's not any time to test their blood and figure out what type of blood they have. You maybe have seen it on a hospital show on television. They say, get me some O blood. And the reason why O is the universal donor is because you can give O-type blood to any of these people, and they're not going to have an agglutination reaction, which means that there will be kind of a grouping of all the red blood cells in their body. They will kind of clog up vessels, not be able to exchange oxygen with the environment and the lungs very well, and the person would die a slow, painful, probably asphyxiating death. And the reason why is because the immune system is used to seeing, let's say that someone has B-type blood, and you give them A-type blood, the immune system's always sampling everything that it comes in contact with and saying, is this self or is this invader? And so it's leaving you alone, right? It's saying self, self, self. And then all of a sudden, if you give someone an infusion of A blood and they have B-type blood in their body, then all of the white blood cells are going to attack these as invader cells, essentially, like a bad virus or a bad bacteria, and then cause all those problems. So this is the theory behind it, but what's important here is money, right? So if you are O-type blood, which a lot of people are, go away from here, maybe to college, and sell your body. Yes, I said that, sell your body. I've had so many students that write me back and they're like, I signed up as a lab rat for this trial on neurons, and I got paid $1,000 for staying up, all night long for 5 nights or whatever. People are always donating blood. They're donating plasma. I'm kidding, of course, but at the same time, if you're interested in helping further science or helping out humanity, certainly you could donate your blood or you can sell it. I guess what I'm suggesting is that if you're a poor college student eating macaroni for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe this might be a source of revenue. My wife and I had a roommate, and he would sell everything that he possibly could if they let him, from his body, and then eventually he made a ton of money, and then eventually they figured out that his sister had this rare eye condition or something, and they're like, well, okay, we're going to stop looking at your eye cells or whatever. So anyway, I'm kidding. I'm halfway not kidding, because a lot of kids do it. Just do what's right for you as far as making some money here. Here's the 3 alleles for the ABO blood types. And then, sorry, these aren't proteins. I thought these were sugars. These are sugars that exist on the surface of the red blood cells. See that they're all different. Well, here's the last thing that I'm going to go over, polygenic inheritance. And all that, poly just means many gene inheritance. And I gave you the example of eye color, same with skin color. I'm going to tell you that there's over 20 genes that combine to create your melanin content and then your skin color. It's an additive effect of 2 or more genes on a single field. Well, thanks. I think I'm due for a haircut. We're done with chapter 14 as far as I'm concerned.